But first, local drama legend. Could you get to that status yet? Mr. Shaun Purcell is here with us. Shaun, you're very welcome to the show.
I have to take the legend bit.
That's a good old Irish with it. Don't be too complimentary. Well, you're very welcome to the show. As I said,
thanks very much, Brendan. Yep, great to be here.
We've seen you do loads of shows between the Model, the Hawkswell, and you've upcoming show as well. Well, it's not so much a show. I suppose you described to the audience what's coming up.
Yeah, it's called Notes from a Tattered Manuscript, and because we had to pull the show last year, as you know, on the night of the dress rehearsal was the night that everything was pulled, and then we were to go on a couple of times, and rather than put a brand new show on for 50 people and not be able to rehearse, so we decided we could do this. They're adaptations from shows and songs that I have. It's all original material. Basically a spoken part, a monologue followed by a song, and it's an interpretive piece around themes of love, death, slimming. They're happy and they're sad, so the audience will be brought on a journey. There are 17 or 18 of them, but 12 every night. So if somebody gets bored with the first one, they've only to sit through for 7 or 8 minutes, and we can guarantee that after that one they'll get a buzz out of it.
So there's a real mix of comedy and a bit of up and down, as you said, and some lovely musical pieces, singing, and there's some dance as well. Yeah. And these are all pieces from previous shows you've put on, or some bits you haven't actually performed
No, there's
before?
some of them are new, some are from shows, some are they're adaptations from the shows rather than pieces taken out of the shows, because they wouldn't stand on their own.
Okay.
And from some of the musicals we did here, and obviously which I'd done originally back in Dublin before I came over here. Yeah.
Oh, well, a great segue there. I was going to ask you next, tell everyone that may not know you in Sligo. Obviously you aren't a Sligo man, so where did the journey come from, or where did it all start?
Well, I grew up in Dublin. I suppose my roots are in Louth, and then I lived in Kildare for a good bit, and basically the job came up here. Went for the job with what was the VEC at the time, which was quite a small entity that time, maybe about 400 or 500 employees. And I came over here and the job, and then I just got involved in the music. I hadn't done anything for maybe 10 years, and I just found, got involved with a number of different individuals, and then we eventually became, in the last few years, the Mad Ravens.
So you had done obviously theatre in Dublin, as we know.
I had. Well, I started in school. I was a teacher first and started in school, and then I had a few years back in the 90s at both in Dublin and London on a small scale with musicals, because they're very difficult to produce, and we did that, and I'm glad I did it then rather than saying I wish I had done it. So it was a great time. And then I came back and got a job that you have to check at the end of the month, and that pays the bill. So I'm actually retired now, so I've no ambitions in terms of, so the Mad Ravens it's a wonderful opportunity for me, where people are interpreting the work for me, and the group has grown in terms of people move in and out of it, and it has grown in terms of expertise and what we're trying to do. So it's getting a bit of a name now. I don't know how many people know of me here in Sligo, but probably more people would have known me from a work point of view. Yeah. But we are getting a name as the Mad Ravens. It's somebody said it was unconventional. It's not. It's all. I think that's what's unique about it in Sligo, is like we've done 5 shows in the Hawkswell, and they're all original material. Some which, as I said, were performed before, and some new material.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I mean, every piece of music, every word spoken, everything is completely written by you. Like,
yeah, well, that was, I suppose, our raison d'etre, if you like, for being here, is one to I'm delighted that people perform the Shaun Purcell material, and the second is to have fun. I mean, I have a big thing about the group are like a big family, very close, disappear off in the holidays and go wherever, but very supportive, and that's a big part of it when we go out. Now, it's a bit peculiar at the time because we're back rehearsing in small groups and people don't know what to do. Do you say afterwards we're going for a beer, or do you disappear home? Or so that's a little bit challenging, but we'll break out of that. You can be as you well know, Brendan.
Yeah. Well, for anyone watching, I am in this drama group as well.
He is a Mad Raven.
And I suppose the Mad Ravens came from the Raven Beckons, was a show we put on a few years ago.
Yeah, and I think you'd have been part of getting that name of calling it the Mad Raven. It was some night we were out and someone came up with it. So we actually did form. We had a company formed about 3 years ago. It is a theatre company with myself and Declan Walsh, Lord of mercy, who's gone from us. And Declan was the production side of things, and I'm the arty-farty side of things.
With the scarves.
With the scarves and everything. With notions. And Declan did all that sort. So in actual fact, we were just on the cusp, because in the last year we managed to do a number of we did the Christmas piece, the St. Patrick's Day piece, and then we did these podcasts that went out virtual, so we were able to perform. We actually got out in the streets for the culture night. Through COVID we've been active, and I suppose this piece now, the piece we're doing on the 5th and 6th of November, the notes from a tattered manuscript, is everybody in the cast has been given a main part in each piece, which is very challenging for them to learn and perform. But the pieces, I think, are suited to people, whether it's the funny part or people who can go into the depths themselves. So it'll be a very interesting piece now, and we'd like to see a good audience for it and build on that.
Hopefully the crowds come on. Now the restrictions are getting eased bit by bit, so hopefully we'll see that.
I know that Marie in the theatre had said, sent me a text, I don't hear the rumblings, but I mean, nothing's going to, there's no sense that suddenly it's going to open up next week. It's not. But I think we're in a safer position. And as I said, if we were doing the show, we'd have had full houses, as we usually be heading towards, to pay for things. But being the type of show that is, although we have 8 or 9 musicians, and as always we have some of the students from Grange in on small pieces of backing, etc. And in fact, one of those that was in The Apprentice a few years ago is now doing she's now in college in Galway, and she's so you can see the growth of people coming through, which is lovely. Yeah.
And with regards to writing, you said, was it only when you started being a teacher that you got into writing, or was it something at a young age? Was there inspirations at home with any music or drama?
There was music always in the house. My sister, who died a couple of years ago, was with the London Academy of Music, the Royal Academy of Music in London. My mother and father were singers. There's some of the family. There's a big family. Some did, and some. So there was lots of music there. And then, look, I just probably had a bit of a neck and started around 19 or 20 writing. We were the Churchtown Players, and we toured in a bus that time. They were aged from maybe 15 to 22 or 3. We probably had more on the bus than we had on the stage than we had the audience.
Still, those people on the bus had good crack, I'm sure.
Some of those, the Ugly Duckling piece that we're doing, and the Billy and Knuckles characters, you played Billy before. Billy and Knuckles were invented back there in the late 70s, 80s. That's where they would have come as a couple of Dublin characters who have now morphed into these two Sligo shams, like compliments of yourself.
And Mickey Murray,
and Mickey Murray, and Mark of recently, and even Stephen Rush. So they've done the territory. Yeah.
And when you go to write something, is it the music first, and then you build the script around it, or is it the other way around?
Look, it's some people, talk about it. The problem I've here is if I start talking about it, I start talking a lot of bullshit around it, because it's just something. It's a gift, and I even find at the moment, as I said, I'm retired, so you can have a fair gauge of what my age is. But I actually find I'm as creative now, and working with the Mad Ravens on a few of the things recently. It's just there, and I'm blessed that it's there to explain it. I would very unorthodox just sit down years ago when we were writing Requiem for Julie, or the Raven Beckons. I'd have sat at the piano with the sheets and a tape recorder and started the beginning of a show, and at the end of the week it would be written. So people would marvel that it's just that's the way it works for me. And other people will work at something over a certain time, and those things are just as brilliant. But it's just like, for example, after Declan's passing, that evening I just went into the piano and composed this nocturne from, it was just there and I recorded it. So I don't know.
You played that at the funeral then?
Yes, we played it, and we're going to we're going to use it in the. We have a piece at the end of the show in commemoration of him, with all of us are taking part in it, including yourself there. And I think it's even at the moment where Emma, my wife, is a music teacher and arranges a lot of the music, so she has arranged some beautiful with there's obviously piano with clarinet, flute, cello, and we were even playing it last week, and some of the people were there and there were floods of tears. So you're doing something right. If you have people laughing or you have them crying, you have to come out singing the tunes as well. Like, that's a good sign.
I know, even of the shows I've been in and seen, like, there's so much amazing, lovely musical pieces, like, and lovely songs, and like some of them really emotional and some of them really funny and quirky and catchy. Like,
well, I've people talk about composing and writing. Like, I write tunes. I mean, like Pat Fitzpatrick, who was an MD in Dublin years ago, called me a tunesmith and a dramaturg. But I write tunes and I tell stories. I like telling stories, whether it's on the stage or in the pub or listening to other people's stories. So you just pick up on those sort of things.
And obviously you do all the writing. Now, in my time with you, I've never seen you been on the stage acting. Is that something ever tempted you, or did you ever try it?
We've done a few concerts. And I'll sing on the stage to interpret the songs. I'm actually doing a piece. You see, that's the thing with the COVID. None of us have seen each other, so I'm doing a piece. on the stage, which I'm dreading, because it's great getting other people to do it. So I am doing a piece called From a Song to Another Day Together. It's about an uncle of mine going off down the field to look at a heifer that didn't look great last night, and he's coming back up to have a slice of the batch loaf and a cup of tea and a slice of the Madeira cake.
You're doing a bit of practice here.
Well, I'm trying to remember. I was in Dublin today and driving in the car on the way up, trying to do the line. So it's I understand. I empathise with other people who do it. But yeah, I would do that. But I much prefer be behind
the scenes.
And it's not that people might be surprised to say I'm not the quietest people either, but I prefer to see other people on stage and drive that, But yeah, I'm doing this one, so it's on first on the very first night, and then it's over.
Oh, you won't do the 2 nights?
No,
never know. People might ask for the second night.
Well, again, but it'll be over. That'll be it. Yeah.
And out of all the shows you've produced, was there one particular performance or one particular show you always love? As you said, sitting back and watching, was there one you go, I really enjoyed that, whether it was more of a sad one or a happy? What was
of my own?
Yeah, out of all your own shows, because you've obviously sat as a spectator as well watching them. So.
Very seldom really, but I suppose because I gave up work for a few years in the 90s, and I did a show called The Raven Beckons, which you had the lead role with Vanessa in when we did it here, and it was actually done here with the schools at one stage. And maybe because that time I had to produce it here in Dublin with a professional cast, and Michael Scott directed it and Pat Fitz was the MD on it, and we did the Late Show, and there was a great buzz about it, and it didn't quite get there or whatever, but it was from the point of view of reviews. But I suppose that's remembering back to that time when you thought, oh, here goes, you never know what's going to come out, and that was very exciting. Okay. But I still like what I'm doing at the moment this week. And next week is as much of a buzz. I think these pieces that are I think they're just going to grab people. I think it's going to be good, and we'll have fun with it,
And from your time on the Late Show, you don't have any tips for me as a chat show host, by any chance? No. From
Brennan, I watch your show. I once ever I watch it a lot of the time, and
I'm
not going to give any of the tips to you. I'll be keeping them for myself. Yeah, it'd cost you.
So as I said, you obviously the show's upcoming. It's only 2 weeks away now. The 5th and 6th of November, Friday, Saturday night in the Hawkswell, and you are doing, as we said, a lovely piece about our good friend Declan Walsh.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet now.
No, Declan, we're doing, Declan, as I said, Declan looked after the production side of things. And I mean, Declan lived down behind me, and we'd have gone out on the boat on the lake and things the last few years, himself and Sheila. And we were good friends together. In fact, Sam, my young fellow, would be very fond of himself and Sheila. So that was a big, personally and professionally. So I wrote that nocturne, and I've written some more to it. And we're all going to honour the man, because Declan, we thought he was a raven, but in fact he was chair of the Chartered Accountants Association, he was the Neurology Centre, he was in the Ross's Point Choirs, and a whole lot of different things. And I suppose he'd put so much into what we were doing in the last few years. So he had all these hats. So we're doing a piece formed with a dance by Caitlin Resler that she's going to perform, and the rest of us are going to honour him in terms of the suits and the lines that he said in deference.
So taking all different lines from his parts.
Yeah, and we'll all do those and honour him. And then, it's a beautiful piece. Even in rehearsing it, as I was telling you earlier, when the music, Emma had arranged it, and herself and Sinead and a couple who were sitting around that were playing, and their cheers coming down the rise. So it is going to be very beautiful.
Well, it is still quite raw, because it's only been a month roughly.
Yeah, major effect on people.
He was a huge character within the group, even though he'd only done one show recently with us. But in that time, and we'd obviously rehearsed for a second show.
He'd rehearsed, and then we'd done the podcast, and then the piece when we were out in Riverstown. Yeah, but he was, all the came back from people. He's just this big giant of a gentleman, and we all loved him. So it's pretty shitty, but that's the way it goes.
That's the way it goes. But as I said, he definitely with our group, and I think, and as we've seen at the funeral everywhere, there's different people from all over the country he met. So it will be a nice little tribute to him. And I think his lines played out again, as you said. I think it will be quite.
Yeah, and Sheila, his family are coming over for it, and to see, and friends and that. So to honour him. Yeah, Sheila's partner.
So the show, as we said, is 5th and 6th of November, and I will say, as I said, from someone in the group, you really have brought together a lovely, friendly, open, very welcoming group, and it is a real mix of all kinds of abilities and people testing out drama to people that are really excelling in
different backgrounds,
different ages.
Yeah.
So I mean, hat tip to you. Not only creatively, some of the pieces you put together are class,
it's
but the group of people is probably one of the biggest accomplishments.
Yeah.
They all have such time for you, and I mean, it's great to have in the show to chat about it. Not like friends having a coffee, but to let people out there know more about.
Yeah, and on the Friday and Saturday night, stay out of town because the Mad Ravens.
Oh yeah, if you want a good
session,
on the Friday night. So people can get tickets obviously from the Hawkswell.com.
From the Hawkswell,
and check out madravens.ie.
Madravens.ie. Yeah, there's a website. A lot of the podcasts, YouTube, Facebook, they're on there. You'll have an idea what the stuff is like.
I think Declan Godlovin drove so many of those elements.
He was the man.
So he's a big loss yourself. So look, well, I'll see you at rehearsal on Sunday, and thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, thanks so much, Brenda. Best of luck to you.